Here we go. We're live. I'm Terra Oracle, and this is Ethony. Welcome, Ethony. I appreciate you taking time out for the interview.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Yes, so we're talking about the modern love tarot. I know you have a lot of irons in the fire. You have so many projects going on. So many things going on at one time. This is such a fantastic deck. I mean, before I started asking you questions, I just want to make some statements about how amazing this is. First off, the color book is so thick. It is so nice, and you don't see this like in any other tarot deck, right?
I think one thing that I wanted to do was make sure that I covered everything that I wanted to cover. So it's definitely bigger than a little white book. And I think if it was more traditional published, like a more like a Llewellyn type or whatever, the book would be a little thinner, but it was always intended to be quite meaty.
Yeah, and that's the thing about the whole deck, right? Is just added value. I mean, the amount of, because you're selling it for like $40, and this is, I mean, if you got this on Kickstarter, this would be $70-$80. This is just amazing. And the cool thing is the book is in color. In addition to that, not to mention Lucy's just amazing artwork and just the full little pages of that. And again, all the work you put into this was just amazing.
Thank you.
And then let's talk about just the edging is just beautiful. The gold edging is just fantastic. Card quality is amazing. And the back is just shines. It's just absolutely incredible.
I love the pattern. I kind of want to make like an entire dress in hot pink and gold with the pattern on it. I think it'll look really cute.
Hey, there you go. But yeah, it's just, and obviously the artwork is just so fantastic. So I guess the first question would be like, how long did it take from just inception to getting this out to the customers? Did this project take?
It took less than a year to complete my side of it in regards to getting it off to, well, Lucy and I, to getting it off to production, which is quite quick. And then production takes a long time. It can take anywhere from 3 to 6 months. So it was in the works for about 18 months before it got into everyone's hands.
Well, that is a lot of work. And the results speak for themselves. I mean, this is really amazing. So did you sort of intend this to be like this, or did you just sort of develop the ideas along the way?
Oh, no, this was intentionally set out from the idea of the deck was extremely clear from the beginning. I wanted to do a deck that reflected modern relationships and the tarot archetypes in a modern way. And I wanted to talk about the different aspects of being in a relationship, because not everyone is looking for the same thing or experiences love in the same way or even wants to be in a relationship. So I made sure that everything from the guidebook all the way through to how I designed each one of the cards for Lucy to then bring to life was done in a very particular, strategic, thought out way.
Yeah, and these are fantastic. When you say modern love, you're literally talking about modern love. For example, the Two of Swords, right? Because I use this, I read with this like every single night on my stream since I got it, and it is so accurate as far as just a raw reading deck. It is so accurate because sort of the disconnect that we have with two people there, but sort of not paying attention to each other, being in that Two of Swords. So the reimagining of that card has really, really resonated on the people that have gotten readings as well. So the deck is, you're right. This is literally modern love, and the accuracy is just amazing. Do you read with us a lot?
Oh yeah. My box is like, it's like so banged up because she's been on the road with me a lot. Oh yeah, I read with her all the time. My book, like, I've like,
there you go.
The spine is all bent, and like I wrote the book, but I also just love like looking at it sometimes because like, I don't know, it's something to see your product in real life, right? To like to hold it, it's a real thing, and it's just a pretty book, like the design and everything, which wasn't me. I have the vision of how to do the design, but my sister actually does the typesetting and everything on that, because I don't know how to use Illustrator for love nor money. So she's like the other the other part of me. I don't know. I couldn't have done it without her. So she helps me a lot with the setting of the production stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I read with it all the time, and it's one that people are drawn to as well when I'm working with clients.
Yeah, it's definitely a great reader. I mean, there's few decks. A lot of decks just look good, but they just read, sort of mediocre. But this one just reads so well, and the artwork as well. So, Lucy agreed to be on a different stream, and we're sort of working out that. But how did you meet Lucy? How do you engage somebody to do a tarot deck kind of thing?
It's so funny that you actually picked the Eight of Cups, because the last time we saw it is because that is a self portrait of Lucy, and it was the very first card we did together.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So I found Lucy through a mutual friend of mine, Teresa Reed, the tarot lady. I let her know, I let a few people know that I was looking for an artist, and she recommended Lucy, and it was perfect. So the way that I worked with Lucy was I scoped out this card, the Eight of Cups. I said, this is what I want. This is the look. This is what's happening in the card. And I believe Lucy was learning about tarot at the same time as she was creating the deck. And then it came back and we got the contract in place and everything. So, but I found Danielle, who's the artist for the Awakened Soul Oracle, which was one of my first Oracle decks. I found her on Instagram. Mm-hmm. So I was looking for artists, like fantasy artists and artists on Instagram. I saw a picture of the bee, which actually happened to become the back of the cards. And I was like,
that is pretty.
Yeah, I love Danielle. And I was like, oh, would you be interested in doing a deck with me? And she was like, oh my gosh, and so I found her that way. So I found people in different ways, and it's been really fun getting to. I mean, I'm lucky. I've been a part of the tarot community for forever, and I know a lot of people, and just from being around, yeah. And I know quite a few artists as well. So I've been quite lucky that way.
Okay, that's cool. So how do you work with an artist? For example, do you say, do you just give them a specification? Do you give them a line drawing? Like, for example, if you're designing this card, do you just say, I want two people looking at someone, or how detailed do you get personally before you hand over the design?
Yeah, I get really detailed. So there's a lot of sort of symbols and specifics. So I wanted justice in the traditional tarot sits between two pillars, which is very common throughout the Rider-Waite-Smith. So instead of two pillars, I wanted it to be two people that were going to marriage counseling, but we were looking at the view through the two pillars to the actual counselor, who also has their hands in a repose of two, two, like an open gesture, but with two. Then in the background, we have the traditional statue of justice, and then a lucky bamboo in hearts in the background as well. Yellow and the green. So I gave her the point of view, everything I wanted in the design. Sometimes, so I sketch terrible, terrible line sketches, but just to give an idea. So yeah, I go into the colors and everything we work together on a little bit. And obviously if Lucy says, I think this is going to work better, maybe can we change this or add this, then it's an absolute open dialogue. I like to collaborate, but I definitely have a pretty clear vision of what I'm looking for, and I'm open to it being obviously better, because I'm not an artist in regards to I'm not at her level, nowhere near it. So I trust her ability to bring it to life.
Well, cool. So it's very specific. So you're looking for certain symbols, you're looking for a certain design and things like that, and then she kind of picks it up. I know that she does oil pastels, which I can do chalk pastels really well, but oil pastels, it looks like a cartoon. So my skill level is 0. So her skill level with oil pastels is amazing. How did you choose that medium, or did she sort of present you with a couple of ideas?
So she presented me with the idea. She's actually working on another deck at the moment, and that deck is oil painting, but oil paintings take a really long time. And because she's working with that medium on another deck, she wanted to do something that was faster to work with, and that was going to give it a different look and a different feel. And so then when she came back with the 8 of Cups and I saw how beautiful it was like, yep, this could definitely work, and it absolutely did.
Yeah, that's amazing. Oil pastels, if you haven't tried it, is extremely difficult. Oil painting is not that bad, but you're right, it does take forever. It's also outrageously expensive. If you're going to do canvases, depending on what the oil brand you're using. And the problem is, if you use a really cheap student oil brand, it looks a lot different than the good kind.
Yeah, so I think that was another, although she was paid up front for the artwork and continues to be paid for every deck sold. I think that was another thing that was quite cost effective for both of us, because I'm an indie publisher. I don't have sort of the coffers of a larger publishing company. So it worked it worked out for everything really, which was really great.
Yeah, it's really fantastic. So how many of these have you sold?
I would have to look into that.
Okay.
I don't know off the top of my head, because I've got some here. I have some in a fulfillment center in the US, and I have some on Amazon. So I wouldn't know off the top of my head. It's all in a back system somewhere.
Yeah, and I think you have the video that goes along with this as well, right?
Yeah, so I have a free companion course, which goes through. To be honest, what does it go through? It's been so long, and I'm doing tarot summer school at the moment, and I've got lots of other things. Like, I'm like, switch gears. I think I talk about like oh my gosh, let's have a look. This is embarrassing.
Well, it's all good. I think I watched it before, but like you said, I have many irons in the fire as well. So
yeah, okay. So let's have a look what's in here. It's free for anyone who purchases the course. And you can get it from my site, from a wholesaler, because I do have decks in shops and all sorts. So as long as you so I've got ethics of love readings, unique challenges for reading for love, using there's a heart chakra meditation, a bunch of tarot love spreads, and cord cutting, questions to ask, 3 top questions that people ask for the love, for tarot for love. So yeah, that's what's in there.
That's cool. That's a really good added value thing. Was that something that you wanted to do originally, or is that just something that you thought of later?
Yeah, no, that was something originally. I tried to have something value add for each one of the products that I produce. So with the Bad Bitches Tarot, there's the How to Read Tarot Like a Bad Bitch, and that's free as well if you purchase the deck. There's with the Muses of Tarot, there's a companion course. With the money deck, there is a free 14-day money challenge. So I try to just like give as much free resources as I can, to say thank you to everyone who supports me and supports my artists. And yeah, it's just, I like giving some more value as well.
Well, that's cool. I love that. It's like you don't even have to go to Kickstarter. You have to have all these extra freebies that come with this. That's what I love about, like, all the products that you have. You do have a lot of added value stuff, and it seems like that you have a really sort of customer centric view on things. Like, let me add this, let me do that. You're very good with that. So when I had a question, I think you responded within like a couple of hours when I originally had it on the deck.
I really try hard to. Sometimes my inbox can get a little overwhelming, but I try really hard to, make sure I'm getting back to everyone. And I just really love the tarot, so I've always got something to say about it.
There you go. So how much of your time is tarot reading versus tarot creating at this point?
At the moment, most of my time is tarot creating, whether that's working on books or decks or creating videos for my YouTube channel or blog posts and doing Oracle Wednesday every week. I've taken a sabbatical from doing online readings. I'm not sure when I'm going to be coming back. I took last year off. There was a lot going on, globally, but there was just a lot going on as well for me. But I still do see some clients that I've had for a very long time that just contact me privately. But most of it at the moment is just creating, and that is my happy space. That's what's refilling the well, I guess you can say. It's filling the cup back up, because I was like just running about 15 million miles an hour for years and years and years, and I was like, okay, I think I need to take a hot minute and breathe a little bit.
Yeah, there you go. So what is, I think, what are your favorite decks, or what are your favorite projects that you have worked on since you started doing this?
One of my favorite ones was I don't have the book here, but one of my favorite ones was the book that I worked in collaboration. It was the very first one I did. I wrote the Suit of Swords for the original. It's out of print now, and I don't know if you can get your hand on the book, but myself, Kellyanne Maddox, and a couple of other people wrote a suit each for the 78 Coins Tattoo Tarot many years ago. And I just dropped her a line by Instagram, and that's how we found each other. So that was a bit of a turning point for my writing. I am pretty proud of my book, Your Tarot Court, which is a modern take on the tarot. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, I have
it's not in that book though. It's only in the indie one.
Oh, okay. Does this come with every one of them?
I'm not sure. I have that version of it as well, but I haven't worked with it in a while. But so I mean, I love every project that I work on for a different reason. They all bring something new. I find out something about the tarot. I learn new things about everything about. But I love to create. Like, I've always been a creative person. I've got stacks and stacks of notebooks next to me full of notes for courses and ideas and books and, you know, all sorts of things. So it's definitely the realm that I like to play in the most, for sure.
That's cool. So what like mistakes have you made when you first started making decks, and kind of that you've learned not to do again, I guess, kind of thing, as you sort of learning through this process or going through the process, right?
I've made every mistake. I have made every mistake. It feels like that, you know, like I've made, like there's been typos, which is inevitable. Even in mass-produced books and things, you're going to find typos. I've, you know, not gotten samples when I should have gotten samples. Because of financial constraints. There's been just not realizing how long production is going to take. So, you know, timelines being bumped out. There's just been production errors that I've had no control over. So it's a big project, you know, undertaking, whether you're doing this yourself or through Kickstarter or whatever it may be. And the money raising, you know, say if you're doing something by a Kickstarter, that's the easy part. I know that may not seem that way for people, but that's the easy bit. Everything else is the hard bit, like managing that and pre-orders. And it's just every single time I say to my sister, every time we go into production with something, it's like, all right, what are we going to learn this time? Because what mistake are we going to make this time? You know, because it's like you have to be open to screwing up a little bit because you can't control everything.
And I think you had some distribution issues with this. I got 2 of them, I remember. And
oh my God, yes.
And then I got an email that said, can you return that? And then you gave me the return sticker. I was actually thinking of emailing you and saying, hey, can I just buy this since I have an extra one? Because I love the deck.
Oh, yeah, you could have, but yes, we had. So then what happened with that is because of our pre-orders, when we put that into our shipping system, it duplicated it. So like honestly, there is always something. And you just have to kind of like roll with it and just be like, okay, well, we've learned that we can't do that with this system. You know, we can't do that this way. We have to make sure we do it another way. So, because you're working with different technologies, right? You're working with printing technologies, shipping technologies, you know, e-commerce technologies. You're working with like Photoshop and all those technologies, and that can screw up. Like, honestly, you're working with so many variables that you just have to do the diligence that you can, and then just be like, all right, well, I've done everything I can here. And
yeah, and sometimes you just have bad luck. I had my waterfall tarot. They had a printing error issue where they were cutting the deck. They had some on a few decks. They had a couple of cuts just randomly on the cards. I'm like, what is that?
Yeah, so I've had that too, where like it looks like like a knife is being slashed through the thing, whether
Right,
that's like
right.
when they were opening the card stock from a big box, or there's just a lot of things, and it's like you just got to kind of go with it and not get too upset when it happens, and just keep focusing on making sure people get the right things in their hands and move forward.
Yeah. Do you still do Kickstarter, or do you do everything right now from your website?
I do everything from my website. I did do an Indiegogo for my very first deck, and I did a Kickstarter for the Awakened Soul Oracle, but now everything is just done in-house. It's just easier to manage that way without having to spend a bucket load of money on advertising for Kickstarter and, giving them a bunch of money and that kind of thing. So I'm lucky because I've been around long enough. People know my name, they know my brand, so they know that if they're going to purchase something from me, they're going to get it, so yeah, I just do everything myself now.
Yeah, and that's one of the challenges on Kickstarter. When I did my book, I did some surveys, and there's like 12 people that never answered the survey. So then you resend the survey, and they still don't answer. So now I'm getting their email address from the info and like emailing them from a different email address and hoping they get that. And you got to kind of hunt them down sometimes when you don't get a survey.
Yep, and that is always the case. And then I remember with the Awakened Soul Oracle, I got an email from someone 6 months later saying, I never received my deck. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I can send it out to you, but I literally sent you 10 emails. Like, I don't know what. You got 3 survey emails and I sent you 7 via mine. Like, I don't know what happened there, but okay,
Yeah, I wonder if Kickstarter sends so many emails that they just end up in a spam box sometime. Yeah.
I have to remember too sometimes to like check my own Kickstarter. Like go into, because I back a ton of decks and stuff. Like sometimes I'll go in there and be like, "This, you need to do this," and it's like, sorry. Yeah, so I have to remember to even fill out the things that I've backed myself.
Yeah, I've had a lot of luck with Kickstarter as far as buying decks. I mean, I don't think I've had one deck that I just never received, but I've ordered probably 70 decks, and I've gotten all of them except that one. So
I've received most things that I've backed on Kickstarter. I've been very fortunate too. But that's just the risk you take when you're backing a project like that. But again, I think seeing where people are at in the process of their completion, and with me, I don't tend to launch anything or announce anything until it's like, I'm done. My part in it is done. Because that way it's a whole complete project. I don't have to worry about a deadline. It's already ready. It's going to production. It just works better for me that way than to be like, oh, I've got all these people's money. Like, I don't need that stress. I want to be like, I'm happy to do pre-orders, but that it's already in production and it's guaranteed to come to you.
Yeah. So do you like the physical media art better than digital, or so where's your preference right now?
I like both. I think it really depends on what you're trying to evoke in a deck. If that's what you mean, like as in what kind of artwork. I like both. I'm a real pop art kind of girl. I like a lot of artistic mediums. I like a lot of different kind of art influences and styles. I'm really not into kind of massive surrealism or cubism or like real modern, like Jackson Pollock kind of stuff, but pretty much everything else I'm really into. So I just love that every artist that I've worked with is able to interpret the tarot a different way and bring something new to something a vision that I've put out there and want to create with them. So it's a real beautiful thing to see at the end of the day.
Yeah. So do you have a lot of artists that just know nothing about tarot, and at the end of the journey, now they're just addicted?
They definitely learn a few things, that is for sure, which is wonderful. Even if they're just inspired. But yeah, I definitely have artists who are learning as they go, learning along the way. And that's really fun too, to see that.
Yeah. So when you do the physical media, so you get a picture basically from Lucy or whoever, and from oil pastels or oil paint or whatever pastels, and you get this, how much post-processing do you have to do to that to get it ready for the?
Usually very little. So like Lucy actually still has all the originals I think she sold a few for the Modern Love, because that was a part of our contract, was that she was able to sell the originals. And again, all contracts are done on a artist by artist basis. And so she just sends a scan. So she scans it on her professional printing scanner, and then we just color adjust it to whatever the actual printer has told us they need, and then we go from there. Because we have a very set process of like, this is what the size we need, this is the DPI we need, this is everything that we need, that we get through from Lucy. I don't really think there was much that we needed to do, because I mean, she's a professional artist too, which helps, you know. She knows everything, so which is really helpful.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, some of mine, I ended up just having to fiddle with it. Like you're talking about color adjusting. Sometimes you're looking at it on the computer, you're like, this doesn't really look like what I just made. So,
yeah, and then when you get it in print, you're like, oh, this also looks different. Like, yeah, the color, because every printer is going to have a different color as well, like a different color system, and the paper they use, the lamination they use, it's all going to change it. So it's all just a trial, learning, and trying to, you know, thing that you do time after time as to what's going to work.
Yeah. So do you get a couple of samples? You just like, give me one with silver edging, give me one with gold edging, give me one with pink edging, or how many samples do you get?
No. And that's because it's very expensive. Like it can be anywhere from 500 to 1,000 USD for just one sample.
Wow.
So no, definitely don't do that. But they can send like edging samples. So I have, excuse me, I've seen a lot of those sorts of samples, and you can get like, just they send a lot of videos saying like, this is what this will look like, etc. But no, samples are very expensive. Again, if I had a Kickstarter that, you know, made a ridiculous amount of money, then possibly I could do all that. But again, I've done this enough times now to know what kind of samples I need, what kind of, you know, everything that is needed for the actual production. So I don't necessarily have to go and order all of that.
Okay. So if you had to give some advice, so let's say someone in chat is like, I want to make a deck. I want to just do this. What advice would you have just as general for somebody who's new to this?
Don't do it.
Dodge bullet, huh?
No, yeah, no. I would say have an idea. Really be clear on the idea and what you're trying to achieve. Do research, and you have faith in what you're trying to do, but just expect that production is going to go it's going to take a lot longer than you may have thought it was going to go, and give yourself a little bit of like wiggle room and time, and be patient because but I'm all for everyone trying to do this. It's just, I think that some people may think that you can just do a tarot deck and, you know, you're going to make a lot of money because some projects have done extremely well, but that's not necessarily true. You have to show up and prove that you're worth backing if you're doing something like that, and there are a lot of variables.
Yeah, and have you had any of these picked up by mass market? I mean, some of the bigger companies?
I've had them ask to publish, and I've declined very politely, and very grateful that they've asked. And there's a few reasons. I want to maintain control over my art and my intellectual property, which is taken if you sign on with a big publisher. I also would have no say in the cardstock quality, the guidebook, nothing like that. I couldn't make any changes if I want to. They can discontinue your deck and stop printing it and stop selling it. And I couldn't create any additional content outside of it. So that's the reason why I like to make sure that the quality of what I'm putting out, and I'm not saying that mass-produced decks aren't beautifully done. I've got hundreds of them. It's just I wanted to keep the control of the quality for myself and my intellectual property as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I didn't know all those restrictions came with that. I thought you just sort of they paid you and then you handed it to them and et cetera. So
Yeah, well, that's it. You hand it to them. You literally hand it to them. They own it. So I'm not ready to do that with something that I put years and years of work into.
yep, that makes sense. Which project was your longest one? Was it this one or was it another one?
It was actually the Modern Goddess Oracle. This deck came out at the same time as the Modern Love.
Mm-hmm.
It just took a lot longer to get done because of the amount of research that I wanted to put into the guidebook. It's another really thick guidebook as well, and she's, it's all full color and everything like the Modern Love. I just wanted to put in as much research as possible into the mythology and the legends and the cultures of the different goddesses. So that took a really long time. And yeah, that was a long project, but they still all take a long time, like up to 2 years to finish.
Wow, that is so that's a very, do you have multiple projects going or do you just like dedicate your because you said
Usually
they came out at the same time?
Yeah, usually I have multiple projects going, but they're all at different stages. So some of them are just at like, okay, we're finalizing with an artist, or I'm editing the guidebook, or I'm writing the guidebook, or we're in production. So it's always at a different stage. You're not writing 7 guidebooks at the time, although I did write this guidebook and the Modern Goddess guidebook are in the same year, and that was crazy. So that can happen, but I tend to try, like, because they're all at different stages, it's not as much of an overwhelm as it can be, even though it is still it's still a lot. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's still a lot.
Yeah. The Dr. Mystical asked a good question. Do you feel like being indie also helps you stave off piracy?
So far, I've been lucky, but gosh, who knows, right? How long that's going to be? Because I think it's more the more popular a deck gets, or the more popular tarot gets in itself, the more you see things getting ripped off. I mean, I've had like nearly every week without fail, someone on Instagram trying to impersonate me, so like it's all just it's par for the course, unfortunately. But I can definitely do more as an indie. I mean, like Llewellyn and all that kind of stuff do have lawyers and a process, but at some point it becomes a huge problem for the major publishers. So knock wood, cross fingers, that doesn't happen, because it sucks when it does. But I just educate people as well and say, look, if you buy anything off of Wish or AliExpress, that's all pirated. Yeah, so you just got to try and educate people, and hopefully they make the right choice.
Yeah, I know Ciro Marchetti had massive issues with that.
Oh yeah, he did.
Yeah, he's on Facebook just like, that's it for me. So, which is a shame, because I thought he was really coming into his own. I mean, obviously he's had like major success, probably one of the greatest single authors of tarot ever. But I just really feel like his last deck, the Gilded Tarot Royale, was his best deck, which really just made me just go, oh man, really wish that didn't happen. I wish he could keep going, but I guess all good things come to an end on that.
Yeah, and sometimes it's like the creative, people all go through their different sort of journeys with it. It is really sad. I have a lot of his decks, and I'm a big fan, and I've met him a couple of times, but it's a shame when piracy kind of stops someone from creating.
Yeah, that's true. So what are your current projects?
So a couple of them I can't say anything because they're under wraps. Contracts haven't been signed, and I tend to keep the news very close until I'm ready to. But you will be seeing next month the announcement for a pre-order for a new tarot deck that I have worked on with a very good friend of mine, an artist. So we are about to hit production. It's going through the final, what's it called, edits. The guidebook and everything, it's all been laid out. Everything's ready to go. So as soon as it goes off to start production, there will be an announcement on my newsletter and at the Tarot Readers Academy and on all my socials. So that is going to happen in July. So watch on out. And then I'm working on, oh my God, 1, 2, 4 more projects in the works at various different stages.
Do you ever feel just overwhelmed, or do you ever feel just like, okay, yeah, probably this one is going to be the last one right now? Because are you just like, I'm just going to do them all?
I love it. I love it so much. I love that every project brings something new. I love that there's a new dimension to the tarot. I'm a writer. I'm a communicator. I love nothing more than to teach and mentor and hold space and help people find their own joy and bring more happiness and everything into their life. So at the moment, I don't see myself stopping at all. I love what I do. I'm very blessed to be able to do it as a full-time job. And yeah, I think this was just always the thing I was going to end up doing, was writing and teaching the tarot, and I teach the craft as well. So yeah, I didn't think that was going to be my life. Like, I thought I was going to be a early childhood educator, and then I had a career in human resources in the oil and gas and mining industry in Australia for many, many, many years. And then when I moved to Canada, everything changed. So I didn't think at 15 I'd be doing this, but now I am. I'm like, yep, no, I don't see myself doing anything else.
That's awesome. And speaking of mastery, I mean, you've reached a mastery of creating this. Again, the Modern Love Tarot, just the deck itself, the quality of the book, the amount of extra content that you have. I mean, normally you just don't get this quantity of good stuff when you get your decks from anybody else. So I think you've really come into your own as well, as far as just mastering the writing. The writing is just amazing. The card quality is amazing. The artistry is amazing. Just everything. I mean, even the box. I love the little box. It just sort of opens up and all the little designs inside. I just love everything about this deck. I mean, this is a perfect deck.
Thank you. The feedback has been like lovely, because you never know how something's going to hit. And the thing is that's not the reason why I do it anyway. And I hope that kind of shows, just because like I don't know. I just, that's not the reason why I do this, to be like, get the accolades. It's more like I do this because I feel like I want to share something with the world. So you never know how well something's going to go down. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, is Amazon going to ban us because we have 2 drag queens kissing on the top, on the front, on the cover? Are people going to send me hate mail? I mean, I get a bit of that anyway, but whatever. That's not going to stop me from being fabulous. So like, I didn't know how that was going to go, how it was going to come across, or how people were going to take it. So you just have to like do what feels right for you. And what felt right for me was to have as much representation in this deck as possible. And just be like, if people don't like it, then oh well, then they're not my people. So
yep. So what's your percentage of tutorials? Because I know you got some classes. So tutorials versus deck creation. Are you 50-50, or is it more deck creation at this point?
I'd say it's still like 60-40, like 60% for the Tarot Readers Academy and my Awakened Soul Coven, and then 40%. It's probably going to become more 50-50, but everything kind of works together anyway. I have a tarot certification, which is like, I mean, that's a whole big topic on itself, but I have a course, like a foundations course, that you can learn tarot with me. And then I've got Tarot Summer School, and I've got a Working Coven, and then I've got all these like other courses and stuff. So, but it's all around still the tarot and magic. So it all kind of works together anyway as a big kind of cohesive thing.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, you have a lot of irons in the fire. Like I said when I started, you are. I mean, I usually have a lot of things going on. I got the live stream, and I got the video instructional videos, and I create tarot books and tarot decks, and I do paintings and all this other stuff. But you are a greater multitasker than me. So you definitely have this thing mastered down to a literal science at this point.
I don't sleep a lot. Never have, and I like to be working. I like to be doing something. I still know how to meditate. I still take the time. I'm a single mother, so I spend a lot of time with my son. When I'm on, I'm on. I've gotten really good at time management. It's I think the corporate world, as much as some of it was very challenging, set me up to succeed in having a good work ethic and understanding how business works, and my education has helped that. And I got a really, really good work ethic from my parents. So it was, it's all, and I'm pretty driven. So I think all those things kind of work well to just work out in my favor, I guess.
Yeah, your ideas are so unique and insightful, and again, your passion for this deck creation is just blazingly obvious, because like again, when I'm reading with this deck, it reads so well, and the whole time I'm just thinking, I mean, she must have just put an amazing amount of thought into every one of these cards, because like you're talking about the little symbolism in the backgrounds and all the little sort of the nuances, like you're talking about with the justice, right, being the two pillars being people, and like your idea creation, your just level of mastery of that as well is just so apparent. And but yeah, I just want to thank you from everybody that has bought this deck and chat, and me and everybody else, for creating not only this but a lot of your other decks, because they're just so fantastic.
Thank you. And I truly do just adore the tarot, and a lot of the reason why I feel like the stuff that I create hopefully resonates with people is because I came from that consumer first. I learnt the tarot at 15. That was when I picked up my first deck, and I created my first Lenormand at 31. So like it was a long time before and it was because, Kickstarter wasn't a thing back then, that's relatively new. But I didn't write, I wrote courses and things like that, but I didn't really come into this whole publishing and doing all of that until much later on. And because I had all that experience working with the tarot and understanding the tarot, maybe that's where those little nuances come across, because I know the cards so well. But I just do it for the love of it, and I love being a part of the community, and I know what I would like in a tarot deck, and I kind of just go from there.
Yeah, that's awesome. So do you have any like closing advice for anybody that's interested in creating this, other than don't do it? I mean,
which is a little bit sarcastic, like a little bit joke.
Obviously, yeah.
No, honestly, just be really clear about what you want to say with your deck. Like, who is it for? Who is it? Who are you serving with this offering? I've been umming and ahhing a little bit about creating a mentoring course for people who want to create their own decks, with all of my experience of like what to do, what not to do, and how to get around it all. So if anyone's interested in that, email me and let me know, because I'm still trying to figure out whether there is a desire for that. But it's more just, who is it for? Who is this serving? What voice is it adding to our community? And I think if you are clear on those points, you'll do well.
Yeah. Would you recommend somebody start with a Lenormand or Oracle or Tarot?
Really, any cartomancy can work. Any form of divination can work. It really depends on what they're trying to get out of their practice. Whether it's, you can use anything for intuitive readings. You can use anything for meditation, for healing, for shadow work, all that kind of stuff. I mean, Lenormand is very cartomancy, it's very divinatory. So that's a very good place to start if you're looking for like quick answers, even though you do need to learn the system. Oracles are much more open, more intuitive, and the tarot is going to give you not only all of that, so divinatory, intuitive, all that, but it's going to give you systems that are being built into it, like astrology, numerology, the Kabbalah. It gives you different forms of initiation, understanding archetypes and mythology. So it's a real full system, and that's probably why I love it the most.
Oh, there you go. Are you interested, or will you ever touch the Thoth decks? Or are you just sticking with Rider-Waite for now?
Maybe that's going to be something that I do in my 40s. Who knows? I guess because I learnt the Rider-Waite Smith, that was my very first love, and I understand that system. I do have a bunch of Thoth and Thoth-based decks that I really love. I may do a Marseille. But until I think it's like waiting for the muse to strike, right? I don't go chasing it. I wait for it to kind of come to me.
There you go. All right. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I greatly appreciate it. And everybody's just complimenting your deck and complimenting your site, and everybody's excited for any new courses you have. So,
oh, that's exciting. Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you having me on. Thank you so much. And again, like, honestly, thank you so much to everyone who supports my work, no matter how you do that. It means a lot. I love being part of this community. It's been incredible to meet people and connect with people online and in real life. And yeah, it's just, it makes me happy every day, which I'm really grateful for.
okay, awesome. All right. Thanks everyone in chat. And thanks again, Ethony. See you next time.
Bye.